And I always think of form opt-ins as sort of like the lead domino in a chain, right? So, like, let's assume you're a brand that does have your flows really dialed, right? You are generating a significant amount of revenue from your automations, right? If you think of that as like sort of like a chain of dominoes, like what's the trigger, right, that gets somebody into those flows and engaging in that the sort of decision trees of flows on the back end that are revenue generating. And at the end of the day, that's either one, to make a purchase, right, and then they're being added into the various different flows and campaigns, or they're opting in at some point pre-purchase, right? So kind of the only way to do that is really going to be some sort of a pop-up or form. And you kind of did the math for folks and you go like, look, do you know what your forms convert at? Because a lot of brands we talk to are converting wildly low, and doubling opt-in rates is not out of question for a lot of the brands we talk to. And that's literally doubling the amount of people entering into those flows and then being put into campaigns. And so it's a massive, massive lever. So when you start to look at how forms and pop-ups are performing, what are some of the metrics that you look at, or what would you consider to be a good opt-in rate, or an opt-in rate you should, be aiming for, or a bad opt-in rate? Just, how do you sort of think about that?
Yeah, so for a standard pop-up form, and when we think about the standard form, this is when you first land on a website, you scroll just a little bit, you spend a few seconds on the site, you get that pop-up, hey, do you want free shipping, 10% off,
Mhm.
20% off your first order? This standard pop-up, we want to convert at least 2 to 3%. That's a healthy average. Again, the amount of traffic and the quality of traffic, huge influences on
Sure.
this number. However, if you're below that 2% mark, especially if you're below 1%, you're really probably need to take a good hard look at what is your offer. Is it fun? Is it engaging?